so recording now. Good morning. I guess it's morning to me if you're on the East Coast or across the world somewhere. Maybe it's not your morning, but I'm here with the amazing Makena Sage. I met her at something called Archangel Academy, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, about 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, and I don't know how old you are. I have this weird assumption. Yeah, you're 27. So that was my assumption. It's like you're young, but your mind and what you do, like you have a complete different presence than many people, which is why I was like, I need to put you on this thing with me because I want to learn from you. And I think other people can learn a lot of things from you. So please take it away. Who are you? What do you do? So people get a chance to really get a feel for who you are, and then we can roll into you giving them some gold.
Definitely. Well, my name is Makena Sage, and I am, by profession, I'm a copywriter, which is basically I write marketing copy for speakers, authors, coaches, people in personal development and health and wellness spaces. And I also do marketing strategy. So a lot of the kind of online marketing stuff that you guys see, I help people kind of think through how to set all of that up for their businesses. But my background, I always like to share, is in personal development. My parents were coaches. Our coaches have been for 30 years. And so my passion is really for transformation. It's for making a positive impact in people's lives. So that can take a lot of different forms. And one of those forms for me is sharing sort of how I built my business to where it is today. And a lot of the misconceptions I see about what it actually takes. I think with online marketing, especially, people get this idea that they have to do it in a certain way and that they need all these fancy marketing funnels, and that they I see a lot of kind of ideas about what it takes. And you know, having built my business to six figures in about a year when I first started my business, and kind of growing steadily ever since, I'm really passionate about just sharing what I learned from my experience. So hopefully people can get some takeaways from that.
Good. That's good. That's a great setup right there. That's like beautiful. So I guess the first thing I would say is, as people are getting started, like when you first got started, what was the biggest roadblock you ran into, and how'd you get over it?
My biggest roadblock, so I started my business actually about 6 months out of college. And because basically I was working in a job and in marketing, and, you know, it was virtual, which was great. I had negotiated to be able to work from anywhere, which was a priority for me. But I was just finding that, like, I wasn't fulfilled. My potential, I felt like, wasn't being tapped. Like, there was so much I had to offer that wasn't being tapped in that position. And so I was like, you know, what am I good at that other people need? That was basically it. It wasn't this big, like, oh, what am I passionate about? I'm going to build this, you know, big passion-filled business. It was like, no, like, I need to make money to survive. So what am I good at that people seem to need? So writing was something I, you know, always had a knack for. So I started writing, started just telling everyone I knew that I was writing copy. And my biggest roadblock in the beginning, I would say, was undercharging, and not realizing that when you're in a business like copy and a lot of other businesses that are sort of freelance type things, billable hours, I was charging hourly at the time. Now I'm more project-based.
Yeah.
Billable hours does not equal the hours you work.
Please
you work
that.
A lot more. Billable hours does not equal the hours you work. You work a lot more than your billable hours. So I was, you know, sort of taking on up to, you know, 40 plus billable hours and in a week, but that meant I was working 60, 70 hour weeks. And at my, you know, and I was sort of judging how much I should be charging, because that's one of the big questions we have when we start, is like, what do I charge? Right. And I was sort of judging that on like my billable hours, not thinking about I'm going to be working all these other hours. And so that was quite a learning curve. And luckily, I think I learned pretty quickly, but it's uncomfortable, right? We're like, I don't know if I'm worth that much, or other people charging that much. One of the great articles I like to share about this is an article called Your Happy Price. There's a longer name for it, but if you Google Your Happy Price, Forbes, one of my mentors, Michael Ellsberg, wrote it. And it's basically about helping you figure out your price. What's the right price for you? Yeah. So anyway, that was a big challenge in the beginning, and it took me a little while to sort of, and of course, over time, you continuously increase your prices as you become more confident and you have the client, you know, the clients and the reputation and so forth. But yeah, just keep in mind that billable hours is not the same as the hours you're actually working. You have to actually build your business. I
agree. And so I guess the big tie-in question, which I think everybody that I talk to struggles with, is like, well, how do you get to that point? Because it is hard. Like you said, it's hard to be able to openly say, like, this is what I charge, what I cost, without fear of losing a client, because you don't want to charge too high and they disappear. You don't want to charge too low, so you're stressed. So where do you find that, I guess, where's that happy price? Like, you can synthesize the book quickly. What did you do?
Yeah.
What did you take from it?
Well, there's some different things. That article, like I said, is great. I think that one of the biggest lessons I've learned is to take the focus off the price. So if you're having a kind of a discovery conversation with someone about maybe working with you, and in the beginning, this is the point I'll maybe come back to in a moment. In the beginning, you don't need a lot of fancy online marketing. You should be having face-to-face and phone conversations with people. That's still how I do the majority of my business. Yes. You really want to get comfortable with that. So when you're having a conversation about, working with someone potentially, even if it's at a networking event or you just meet someone at a party or something, the focus should never be on the price. They might ask you the price right up front, but you can even learn how to sort of not deflect it. It's not that you don't, you won't ever tell them the price, but it shouldn't be the main focus. It should be like, does this feel like a fit? So I always ask other people questions first. They start asking me about what I do. I tell them a little bit and then I say, tell me about you, tell me about your business. And of course, every industry is going to be different, right? This may or may not apply to some of the people listening, but just in general around kind of sales conversations, it's get curious about the person you're talking to. This is not them interviewing you only. It's also you interviewing them to see if they're an ideal client. Yeah. And if there's this feeling of, we'll work well together. So when you do that, when you ask them questions, people are sold on working with you just by the quality of your listening and the questions you ask.
I like
so that. So ask questions, get curious about them, and then that will give you information about, what their needs are and whether you can help them. And don't be afraid to turn them away if you can't. Send them to someone else. I do that often. And it's harder to do in the beginning, but the biggest thing is get them to a yes. Like, yes, this sounds like what I want before the pricing conversation comes up, if at all possible. Then the pricing conversation is less of an issue. It's more just like, cool, we know this is a yes. Now here's what I charge. Yeah. And it takes some time to get comfortable with saying the numbers. So I just say that that's a practice.
That is. Yeah. That's going to be so surprising. It's funny. I got a call for a keynote recently, and basically I upped what I typically do, like $5,000 more than what my typical price is. And I didn't do it because I want more money, but I was like, my time is getting thin. And if I'm going to be a little bit more just for just for my time to be worth it. But they said, yeah. And I was like, well, all right. So it's like, had I not done that, they wouldn't have said yes to it, it was powerful. It was just cool. So I guess the thing I want to lead into for you is, so how would somebody get themselves from, 0 to 6 figures? Like, how'd you do it without that crippling stress? Like the topic of this, whole podcast, how would you go there?
Yeah. So one thing is, if you're in a job right now and you're thinking about leaving it, I really recommend, and everybody's journey is different, so I hate to say like kind of one size fits all advice, but my experience is just quitting your job and trying to start something from scratch is a really stressful way to do it. You put yourself under financial pressure. It makes those sales conversations more difficult because you need that income to survive, right? So the more you can find ways to sort of start something, if you're thinking about starting a business, start a project on the side first, or start, coaching or whatever it is you're doing on the side first. And practice those sales conversations and start bringing income in, start getting testimonials from people working with you. And you're going to build confidence and you're going to build, income and so forth. And then there will come a point at which you go, wow, this is taking off. And, now I feel confident in leaving my job. So one thing is just take the pressure off, don't necessarily put all your eggs in one basket. It also takes time to test and really see if something's what you want to do. So this is one of the big mistakes I see people make is they think, oh, I'm passionate about, let's say, health coaching. I work with a lot of coaches. That's why I keep bringing that industry up. Let's say someone's passionate about health coaching and health. So they say, okay, I'm going to go get certified. I'm going to go do this. And then I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to start this health coaching business. Well, it may, once you actually start doing health coaching as a profession, you may find, you know what, I'm passionate about health, but it's not actually, I don't actually like health coaching. So there's this process of practice. Is that sound coming from me?
No, that's just what I had a gym I ran for a long period of time and closed it 2 years ago because I loved it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's this process of sort of like testing something, of doing it for a while, of seeing how are people responding to it? How are you feeling doing it? And making sure it's really what you want to do. So again, kind of keeping that pressure off as much as possible. Don't be afraid to work a part-time job. I think people kind of glamorize entrepreneurship sometimes, and it is wonderful. I mean, the flexibility and you don't have a cap on your income, and there are these things that are incredible about it, but don't be afraid to kind of support yourself while you're doing it. That's one of my, I think, biggest tips. And the second piece to that is, don't necessarily go invest all this money before you even get started. You need to make sure you have a viable profit, revenue generating business before you go invest tons and tons of money. So people, again, they go get the certifications, they go create the fancy, beautiful website, they hire a copywriter, they do all these things. And then they realize a year down the road, oh shoot, I want to do something completely different, or my brand is something completely different. And here they've invested, $10, $20, $30,000 into a business that didn't, kind of come back to them. So I always share that I started my business. I got my business to 6 figures with no email list, and I'm an online marketing expert. I do recommend an email list, but this is just fair. No email list, and a 3-page WordPress blog that I put up myself to look like a website. It was a blog, but there was like a way you could kind of, I don't know, hack it on the back end to make it look like a website. So I have screenshots of that. I always share that because that's how I did it. I just put up the minimal I needed to do to look credible, and it was all word of mouth. So.
Gotcha. I like it. So that obviously, did you have stress along the way?
Sorry, say that again.
Did you have any, so it says stress along the way. So what did you experience stress? And was that, so obviously you were 6 months out of college when you first started. So was there any kind of crippling stress you experienced that you switched out of along this journey? Because how long ago was that you started it?
About 3.5 years ago. So
how have the last 3.5 years been?
After I got through that period of undercharging, that was the stressful period.
Gotcha.
Once I got through that, of course, anything has stress, right? It's kind of like choose your type of stress. So entrepreneurship has stress, jobs have stress. They're different kinds of stress. What I want to avoid for people is sort of that paralysis of, I'm not making sales and, I'm not making my numbers. And so I'm not going to survive and I need to go back to a job kind of thing. Right. So that's where some of those strategies I talked about come in, about not putting yourself in that position. I actually, when I started mine, I went to halftime with my job that I was working at the time, my virtual job, when I first started my business. And so I was able to start, taking on clients and have some regular income coming in. So that's the way I did it. And then, about 6 months into my work, I ended up going into another, having a main client I worked with for about a year. So same kind of thing. Even though I was an entrepreneur in the beginning, I was doing things to make sure I had steady income, to make sure I wasn't always jumping for the next client, and could really learn how to have those sales conversations and so forth. So yes, there's always stress, but what I want to avoid for people is sort of that, again, that paralysis of oh my gosh, I can't feed myself or my family. I don't want people to be in that position.
The cold sweats at night. I've been there. I've got to points where I had it was Christmas Eve, I think 3 years ago. And I had $20. It was $23 in my bank account. I had rent to pay, food. I couldn't buy Christmas presents. Crazy. That was lots of fun. I had a question. I was trying to get the question. Oh, so you'll get everything you do. So in a sense of the building people to 6 figures, that whole idea, there's a lot of people that have different ideas for their business, right? Some people want to do online, coaching. Some people want to open a t-shirt line. Some people want to have a brick and mortar. So, what would you tell someone utilizing today's techniques and technology, kind of what you do? How could they, broad stroke, how could they create the best streamlined baseline without spending a bunch of money to help themselves start the ball up to 6 figures?
Yeah. There's a couple things. One is, like I said, if there's a way to do a project first, that's a great way to do it. Try something out that's related, that's not a whole lot of overhead. Don't sort of, create this big thing and hire employees and put all this marketing out and then wake up and realize it's not what you want to do or it's not profitable. Like, test it first. There's a book called Ready, Fire, Aim, which is basically about, our tendency is to want to like line everything up and have it perfect and then take action. But instead it's like, take imperfect action, kind of try things, tell people you're doing whatever it is you're doing and see if you're getting, customers or what have you. So whatever your industry is, or even with the brick and mortar, it's a little harder with the brick and mortar, but maybe you go work in a company that's doing the same thing for a little while and just see what does it actually look like on the back end, or do some sort of related project. But I think the main thing is, I always tell people, like, one key phrase I use a lot is, what's the simplest, most effective way to get the result you want? And what I mean by that is that includes like not taking on a whole lot of overhead if you can avoid it, especially in the beginning. So you want to get the ROI, the return on your investment, which means keeping your investment minimal in the beginning, if possible, starting to bring in revenue right away. So no matter what your business model, that's where a project or something like that can be great. And just test. Like, even when I talk to people about creating, people who've been in business and are successful, they're like, I want to create an online program. And I say, great, here's how you do it. Don't create a whole fancy online marketing funnel and put out, create the perfect program and then put it out there and then, hope that it sells. Instead, do a test version, put up a simple sales page, or just get on calls and tell your, clients about it. Put 10 people through a beta version, create the content as you go along, see how they're responding to it, get feedback, make sure it's viable, make sure you're enjoying putting it out there. And then you have success stories at the end to share when you actually do the big scale launch. So that's just a kind of an example of how I always recommend people, if possible, go about things, is like, just go for it on a smaller scale if possible, test it out, make sure it can bring in revenue, make sure you're enjoying it, and then you can kind of step into that bigger game.
And I got to feel this ties into some of your personal development past, because that's scary as shit, like, for most people. It's right. Because they're like, well, what if I mess up? What if I don't know what I'm doing? And like, this is where, I mean, I'm speaking from myself, a year and a half ago. I was like, well, can I do this? Like, am I smart enough? Do I have the resources, the tools? Are people going to like me? So my recommendation is just like Nike, just do it. Because really what happens is, it's okay if you're transparent and you tell people, look, I'm creating this. I've read this. I've learned this. I spent all this time doing this. Now, I may not be the guru best in the world just yet, but I'm down the path farther than you are. So I'm going to teach you what I've learned along the way. And I think when you get to that concept of like, you're not hurting people, because also my thing was, I don't want to take someone's money and not be able to sleep at night because I didn't help them. So if you're out there listening and you have this idea, it's okay to start moving forward and helping people that are a little bit farther down the path as you, because you're going to learn more than them, because now you have 10, 15, 20 people to learn more from. You'll always stay ahead of the curve. And then you can just iterate, like you were saying, iterate as you go, because I think as you're moving, you learn. Just be aware and transparent and tell people, hey, I'm learning the whole entire way, which is what I'm doing. I started a podcast like 2 weeks ago. I was going to start a podcast. I had no idea what to do with it. And now I do it live, and it's kind of weird, but it works out. So I don't know.
I can definitely relate. I mean, that's me sort of teaching this topic, right? I mean, most people, what they come to me to learn is marketing. And I can talk about marketing all day long, copy, strategy, like we could go into those kinds of conversations. But what I found was, when I really looked at it, I said, a lot of people aren't even there yet. For most people, and 6 figures is just kind of an arbitrary number, but it's one that a lot of people think about. And to me, it's more about what it represents, the freedom, enough income to be able to reinvest in your business and have a good life. So I realized, like, for a lot of people, until they're at or around that number, they don't even need these complicated marketing, tactics and techniques. So I didn't feel right about kind of sharing that first without sharing this piece. And so, but if you look at it, I've only been doing 6 figures in my business. This will be my 3rd year in 2016. So it's not that I'm like the expert, but I've learned some things along the way. And so I feel compelled to share them. Yeah. And then one of my mentors said something which really stuck with me, which is, mentors, I say she's actually a client, but I just love her work so much that I also consider her a mentor. Her name is Sarah Kaler, and she said something in one of her programs recently that really stuck with me, which was people who are perceived as leaders are not the ones who they're not the ones who have it all together. People don't actually perceive that as leadership. They almost are a little like suspicious if you look like you have it too together, right? The people who are willing to put themselves out there and be the most vulnerable and push themselves out of their comfort zones are the ones that are perceived as leaders.
Yeah.
So when you feel that fear, when you feel that like, I don't know what I'm doing, nobody knows what they're doing, right? We might get some expertise in a certain area, but if you're a leader, if you're in business in anything, if you're growing and expanding, you're constantly pushing your comfort zone. We all are. You with your podcast, right? Me with my next projects. It's pushing our comfort zone. It's like, oh, that's not comfortable. It's bigger than it's what I was doing before, right? But people see that and they see you being just vulnerable and going for it, and they have so much respect for that. So just know it's hard to kind of get that in your bones, but it is the truth. The more you actually just really go for it, the more, the more.
I think it gets to your bones once you do it. There's someone told me recently, says you got to jump off the cliff and build a plane on the way down.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
All right. So we're getting towards the end, and I always ask one random question that you get to answer. Okay. And then we'll let some people hop on and ask a question. Here's a random question. So you ever seen a movie with Adam Sandler, Click? He has remote control. Fast forward time, pause time.
Oh, I think I've never seen the commercial.
So if you had this remote, what would you do with it?
Oh, wow. So I can fast forward or rewind time?
Or pause. You can fast forward, pause, rewind.
In the moment, or I can like go back and forth in time?
Go back and forth in time.
What would I do with it? I don't know. Time travel stuff makes me a little like wary. I'd be afraid of like messing up the fabric of the universe or something. So I guess, with respect for the fabric of the universe, I might just like mess with people. No, I don't know. I think it would be cool to fast forward and see like generations after me in my family, like see what they're up to. Yeah. Cool. See like my great grandbabies and give them a kiss.
I like it. I can dig that one. I would just pause time and float around for a while, take a breather. I think that's what I would do. I don't know if I want to know what's going on. It would make me feel weird about the future. That's yours. You can do whatever. It's your remote. Your remote. Do whatever you want with your remote. All right. So I'm going to let people hop on now. So to get live, I'm going to let her come on first. And then I actually have up to 4 seats. So if 2 people want to join, so 1 more on top of her, welcome to join. So I'm going to hit the OK button. And hopefully she's still on air and floating around. There you are. We can see you.
I see. Oh my God. This is embarrassing. Oh, what do I want to ask?
I don't know. What do you want to ask?
Well, I'm a professional manicurist.
Okay.
And I've been doing nails for like 25 years. And so I'm also an educator for a brand. But what I would like to do right now is set up something online, maybe to sell products. So what would you suggest that I do?
Do you know what kinds of products you want to sell?
Everything related to nails. I don't want to reinvent any wheel, but just make sure that it's something that will be beneficial for the client. And I would be able to suggest and really stand behind.
Do you see a need for something specific that isn't being filled, or is there something in particular you're really passionate about? What makes you want to create something online?
You know what? When you put it that way, I think what's really what the need is to me is to help service providers have empathy for their clients. If that makes sense. It's almost like being in tune with each individual client, because we have to serve the client. And sometimes when we're serving the client, we think that some clients have bad attitudes or whatever the case may be, but we should be somewhat of a sounding board and not be able to take on their stress. but to help relieve their stress without giving them an attitude, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like having a guideline. It's almost like when you guys work in corporate America, your corporation teaches you how to, work with each other. But no one really has a template for a service provider to really effectively work with clients on a day-to-day basis. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think there's definitely a need there. What I hear you saying is maybe something even more in the realm of creating a system or just consulting even initially or something in that vein. And it could be around nail salons specifically, or it could be different kinds of service providers. What I would recommend is you're going to want to go for, initially go, if you have connections anywhere, like see if that's a good place to start for sort of that project base, like try something out, kind of get a feel for it. But then once you're if you're actually looking at creating it into a business down the road and you've kind of tested it out a little bit, you're going to want to go initially, always go where the client can afford to pay you. So even if you want to trickle down and then help other people later, you don't want the money conversation to be too much of a stretch. So maybe it's going into high-end salons and nail salons and that sort of thing that want to increase their customer experience. And that's, if you have a system or a gift for that, that would be a huge service for them. And over time, you track what are the results? What does that help them do? Is that increasing their, revenue at all, or is it their testimonials or their Yelp reviews or whatever? You kind of track that. So that's just at a brief that's what I'm hearing.
Thank you so much.
Brick and mortar.
Great idea.
Oh, don't go anywhere. I got one for you. Hold on. So as you go with the exact same stuff here, because I used to own a gym. I was brick and mortar. I always had people walking to my gym when they came in. Like I saw people approaching the door in a suit. I would turn and walk away from the door and tell my front desk, like, "Hey, tell them I'm not here," because I don't want to talk to people, right? Because I didn't know who they were. They didn't approach me correctly. They didn't come in and ask, like, and respect my time in advance with a phone call or an email or anything. And if they were right, they would come in. They would say, "Hey, I don't want to talk to them now. Can I set an appointment?" When they said that, I'd walk back. So what I would tell you is, one, you got to have the respect for people's time. Two, develop like your baseline brand. What's your brand story? What your experience is, like who you are. So when somebody says, well, who are you? Why are you the person to do this for me? Have your history towards succinct and clear. Like, oh, I need to listen to this person. And part of the way you can do that is two ways. One, you can cold call and basically walk into people's places, like Makena say, and I believe that's definitely something you should do because that's what most people won't do, and that's ballsy, and people like that stuff. I like that stuff. Second, put out, if you can, because you're talking about, you want to go online. I think she's right. Like, I think the question of what do you really want to do is great, because we would have sat here and told you how to do a product line when really you want to help people, like whole different concept. Right. So I say, start addressing issues that people deal with and show how your information helps that pain point. So if they're like, I can't get clientele to stay, I'm always having to, get new people. I have these hard conversations going on. What does that affect them at? Like, do they go home unhappy? Do they go home tired? Like you can say, do you go home every day feeling like drained because your clients are draining your soul? Well, there's a way you can deal with that. And then give them free information, like whatever you've done to mitigate that or deal with that. You start giving them information like, oh, this person's like the expert. This person knows what they're talking about. And then they'll seek you out in some ways.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, if you want to start blogging, writing articles on topics like that, there's all kinds of sites online that might publish your articles, and that'll start to get your information out there. And then people will be like, who is this woman? Right. And you're like, well, I can work, maybe virtually or in person with your business to help you XYZ.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
Yeah. You're so welcome.
Bye-bye.
All right. So anybody else want to join? I usually give it like 3 or 4 seconds. Oh, we got Dawn Makena. You still good, Makena?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So I'm going to put Dawn on. Here we go. Where's she at? I should have got water before I started because I got this cotton mouth thing going. It's not a good positive thing.
Morning time.
I brushed my teeth. I flossed and brushed my teeth, and I usually drink water, but I didn't. I just don't know. It wasn't very smart. Dawn, you're not coming in. I don't know where you're at, Dawn. Dawn. All right, Dawn, let's try this. Dawn, I'm going to close you out and then try to click it again and join. Because I want people to be able to hop on and actually talk to us. Here we go. Let's see. Make it work. We got anywhere, Dawn? Oh, Dawn's not coming through. Maybe she has a bad connection.
I have some technical
That
issues
sucks.
going on.
I want to hear what Dawn has to say.
Yeah.
Dawn.
Did you type it in or no?
She can try to type it in. Dawn, if you're not coming through, you can try and type it on either the side that's a Twitter feed or the one that has the blue Q that has a question mark. If you're on your phone, I'm not quite sure where you would type it in, to be honest. There's a section there I know you're able to type it in, but I'm not quite sure what it is because I got to go in the app and check the app out one of these days. Dawn, I can't hear you. She hopped out again. All right, well, Dawn, type the question. She's trying it again. She's going to try it again. Let's try it. Third time's a charm.
All right. One last time. One
last time, Dawn. Oh, I got to get a hold of the people at Blab and let them know they're messing up my day. This is no bueno because then Dawn's going to hate my guts because she can't get on. I don't want Dawn to hate my guts. It's not working. And I don't know why. I really have no idea why. I wish I could on my side do something better to make it work, but it's not. Anyways, sorry, Dawn.
Dawn, if it's a question for me, feel free you can add me or follow me on Facebook under my name, Makena Sage, Makena Sage, Makena Sage. You can send me a message and I'll reply to it there or something.
Perfect. That's actually what my next question was going to be, is because she can't get on and nobody else wants to join. So Dawn McKinnis, I'm gonna go ahead and close this up. All right, so that's pretty much it. So how do people reach you? Because I know you had something coming in April, right? I don't know what's going on in April. I saw you do some more posts. So I want you to brag about yourself, what it is you do. Why do these people need to find you about?
Yeah, well, so my website is onlinemarketingwithheart.com. Onlinemarketingwithheart.com. So that's a great way to get in touch with me and just has some general information about my copy and strategy and so forth. But this year, what I'm really excited about is starting to share more of what I know with people who aren't yet at the point to work with me one-on-one. So what I decided to create are what I call virtual events. So I find that online programs, they can kind of drag out. It's hard to remember to do all the modules. So instead, I'm creating, the first one is Saturday, April 2nd, where all you do is set aside a Saturday morning, early afternoon. And there's a virtual event, meaning there's 3 sessions and you call in kind of like this. And we're on the line and I'm giving, content and sharing more about what I know. It'll be kind of like this, except they'll also have slides with, information and worksheets and that kind of thing.
Cool.
So later in the year, I'll be doing a couple more on copywriting and on marketing funnels. But again, I realized that there's sort of a piece that comes before that. So we touched on it today, but we didn't really get into sort of the really kind of strategies and specifics of how to get to your first 6 figures without crippling stress or complicated marketing funnels. So talking about how do you get clear about your ideal client, how do you package your stuff and price it, and what technology do you need in that, kind of first part of your business? How do you have sales conversations that don't feel salesy? How to have websites that actually get you paying clients. So those are some of the topics we'll be talking about. So it's this 1-day virtual event, I'm making it super reasonably priced because it's really just my give. It's my way of sharing what I know with people to help you get to your next level in business.
Awesome.
So if you're curious about that, you can just reach out to me. I haven't put up a fancy sales page or any of that yet. I like to keep it simple.
Yeah.
So my email address is another good way to get in touch with me, which is Makena, M-A-K-E-N-A.
Go ahead, type it in too.
Perfect. Where? Send a message?
Yeah. You see it Brian Fairway. I think it's Brian G. Fairway. He actually sent you a message too. He says, looks like you have 2 pages, a like page and an add a friend page. Which one would you recommend us to follow?
You can like my business page, but I honestly update my personal more. So if you want to follow on my personal page, that's a great way as well. But email is the best way if you do have a direct question or you're curious about the event. Email, or you can go to my website, which I just typed in here. So Makena, onlinemarketingwithheart.com. So yeah, but in the meantime, if you have any quick questions, happy to answer those if you didn't get to them today. And
yeah. Thank you. And if you guys didn't reach me for any reason whatsoever, my voice just went out. Morning time. My email is contact@anthonytrucks.com. Also, go check out renewuniversity.com. I just got the website up, and it tells you about all this craziness I'm doing at launch in May. That's a phenomenal, amazing product and course that I'm putting out. It's going to be, it's going to be the best in the world at what it does. It's unique. So that's my thing. That's my spiel. I'm done with that. Seriously. Thank you. So you have like a calming, warm presence. I just like listening to your voice. It's cool. I don't know, just let you know. But I hope everybody else enjoyed this. It'll be posted within probably the next few hours. I'm going to have everything link-wise to you so you can share with your people too. But I'm going to go ahead and close it up now. Thank you so very much for joining me. I truly appreciate it.
Such an honor to be here. Thank you.